That was horrible.
Hey there. Derek, I think it's time that we boogie on down, you know what I mean? Or maybe we should Boogens on down.
Hey, do the
this
boogie
week
down.
we get to review the Boogens from 1981.
See, I was going to look at you. Isaac decided to jump in on the cold open for this one, which is good, which is great.
Yeah, I thought it was, you kind of gave me the big seat there. It's my time to shine. I finally got the keys to the kingdom. I'm going to run with it. How'd I do?
You did okay. I'll give that like a solid 4 out of 10. What I was going to do is I was going to be like, hey, Isaac, what's under your nose? And you're going to...
No, I already know we were going with this. I'd give it a 2 out of 10.
Oh, is it a Boogens under your nose?
Nope. Terrible. This movie was about as great as a boogen under my nose would be, I think.
I think you're giving away too much.
Oh, you think?
Me thinks you've said too much. So yeah, as we said last week, we watched The Boogens, made in 1981. Let's talk about this movie. So nailing down those review scores, we've got a Rotten Tomatoes of 25 for the critics, and then IMDb of 5.5 and Letterboxd of 2.8, which is actually fairly high.
A little higher than anticipated.
And I was kind of scrolling through all the Letterboxd reviews, and people kind of like this movie, which is pretty surprising. But yeah. And honestly, I couldn't find any reviews worth mentioning. Everyone basically is just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
So there's that. This was directed by James Conway. It was written by Thomas C. Chapman, David O'Malley, and Jim Koof. So you got a trio.
A couple of people there.
James Conway and Thomas Chapman and Dave O'Malley, two of the writers, haven't really done very much, nothing of note. They've done like 20 things that are just kind of random. But James Conway, the director, he's actually done tons of stuff, like tons of good stuff.
Really?
He's done tons of episodes of all the Star Treks. He's done The Orville. He's done episodes of Smallville and Supernatural.
What?
Yeah, pretty crazy,
Since
right?
when?
And then Jim Koof, one of the writers, this was his first theatrical release movie.
Oh.
But then he went on to do National Treasure and Rush Hour. And then created and wrote the show Grimm, the TV show.
What? I'm so lost. What's happening?
So the men who are behind The Boogens are actually pretty renowned in the world.
Two-thirds of them went on to do some pretty decent stuff.
So I was you know what? I was pretty surprised. This film had a $600,000 budget, and in today's money, that's actually equates to about $2 million.
That's whack.
So this movie, $2 million.
Just renting out all those locations in cold places, I guess.
I guess. All right, let's jump into expectations.
So I was expecting, we watched the trailer beforehand for this one, and it seemed like I didn't really understand where things were going to go, but it seemed like a fun time, It showed us the creature in the trailer, I believe. And so from seeing that creature, I thought, I'm going to love this creature in a motherly way. They look kind of cute. They've got these huge eyeballs on this really round head. I thought they just looked cute. So I'm going to love this little monsters, Yeah. I thought they were going to look like boogers, just as the name would imply. Yep. I mean, I know that's not where the name is going, but you hear Boogen, you think booger. I thought they were going to be slimy in nature and look something like that.
Hey, I give that joke a 2 out of 10.
Figured the plot was going to bore me to tears. I figured I was really, really only in it for the creature, and so I wasn't looking forward to much plot development. And then I figured it would take too long to even see the creature. That was one of my expectations. I feel like it's going to be one of those movies they do not use this puppet enough. We are not going to see it for far too long. And I'm a big fan of monster delay and really using that to build tension, but I was worried this one would not give me that. And then my last expectation was just to have uninteresting actors. Yeah. I didn't really see any names in the cast list of anybody of note, so it was feel like they'll do well. They won't be terrible, but I won't really care much for them, and I won't hate them. For sure. Just neither way, I'm mid on them.
For sure. For me, I wrote definitely some boogers.
Definitely some boogers. You wrote that boogers. Too.
I did. Based on the images, it seems maybe some sort of a clone of the movie The Thing. Maybe. That's kind of what I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
Cool gremlin-esque monsters, campy dialogue, and then obviously I was expecting some sort of unnecessary, gratuitous nudity in a shower scene.
Yes.
Specifically a shower scene. Absolutely. I don't know why, I just expected it. So yeah, that's it. And I wrote that this movie starts with the intro from Cheers.
Does it? Is that what it started with? I didn't even notice.
No, because it doesn't literally. But Cheers starts with like a montage of all these old pictures of people at the restaurant, at the bar. And this movie starts off with all of these old newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
And all these old photos.
Which made actually for like a pretty decent way to give us exposition.
I loved it.
Because I feel like some, especially these older, like poorly rated movies, they do a bad job at giving you exposition. And like, they just like list things to you. You're like, okay, clearly I'm supposed to know these things. These are important, right? But it was kind of a neat new way for us to... It was a long sequence of like headline after headline. It's like they found silver and now they're mining for it, and then they're getting attacked, and then they shut it down, and then it explodes. Like there's a whole list of things that go on. But I was like, cool, I'm easily in on this lore here, figuring stuff out about it.
So Isaac kind of glossed over it, but basically what it tells you, the movie is going to take place in some sort of a mining town in Denver-ish, Colorado area. The mine shut down because people were trapped inside. They like blocked off the entrance. People kept disappearing in it.
And it was very like vague about why they were shutting things down. All we know were people were getting hurt down in the mines, and they weren't really giving a lot of details about that. Right out the gate, the movie like starts out by saying it is an R-rated movie, and I was like, all right, prove it. Prove it to me. But yeah, so it transitions from the newspaper headlines. It actually had a really neat shot of going from a shot of like one of the old like mining mills or whatever, like the big wooden structure in the headline, and then it transitioned to that being like the real shot, you know, in like full color, because all of these newspaper headlines were in like sepia toned colors and stuff like that, which was honestly a pretty neat transitional shot. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, let's keep this rolling then.
Yeah, I like it when things cool like that happen in these movies, because usually we're sitting there with really low expectations, so it's not hard to impress us. But when we do get impressed, we look at each other like, that was great.
Okay,
like,
wow, yeah.
This is exciting.
To start out that way, I'm like, all right, you're doing well so far. We immediately meet a couple of our characters. There are two older men who have clearly been working for this mine for a while. Then there are two younger men meeting up with them to kind of help out, like as like seems like some kind of like, I guess I can't say a summer job, but it feels like that, but in the winter.
Yeah,
it's just like a winter job for them to help them out. And you can tell this movie was definitely made like in the late 70s, early 80s, because the very first conversation we hear from between these two men is about sex.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're having a conversation about, like, the one guy counted how long it's been since he had sex.
Yeah, it's been like 14 days.
Yeah,
13
literally a matter of, like down to the hours and the minutes. And his friend's like, oh, you're a sex maniac.
Oh, my God.
Quote, sex maniac.
But that term gets used for this guy, like, 4 more times.
A couple times. It makes me wonder if that was a real, like, I don't know. I've never
never heard that.
Common.
It's so weird.
Feels so strange. But some, like, the dialogue was fairly believable. Like, while these two were kind of annoying and really all they did was talk about sex, like, it seemed to fit their characters. And even when the old man was talking to them about what they would be doing in these mines and their job, the old man dialogue was surprisingly believable.
It was pretty good. And the actors right off the bat were believable, too.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody was like, I wasn't like, oh, right out the gate, I hate this actor, you know, like, get him off the screen. Seemed fine.
It wasn't even really campy. It was just like all delivered pretty well. Yeah. I still at this moment surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
About
that. So they end up. So basically, they're going in to check out these mines that have been shut down and checking on like the support beams in them just to see how well it is structurally, if they can still be used and such like that. So they're walking in, and the old man literally just starts hitting support beams with a hammer. He just starts smacking at him. He's like, yep, that one's good.
Which is so dangerous. You're in like a, 50-year-old mine. Yeah. And you're just smacking the wood supports.
Which, I mean, he does warn them. He's like, you boys stay about 15 feet back. Whack, whack, whack. And just starts hitting these so like dumb. Really decrepit looking support beams. And one of them is even like, I don't think we're getting paid enough for this job.
Hey, I wrote that too. Yeah, I'm not getting paid enough.
You know what? You're right. You absolutely are not getting paid enough for this. You guys should go.
And right here, I actually was like kind of hopeful. Spoilers, this doesn't happen. But I was like, what if these old guys are trying to kill these kids? What if they're trying to feed them to the Boogens?
Lure them into a trap or something.
That doesn't happen. But I was hoping.
So yeah, basically, all I can like muster from what these boys are supposed to do is they're there to like help like unspool the wire to the dynamite that they're gonna like blow up in this cave. So they're helping just like facilitate these like mine blow-ups to like help open passageways and stuff that were closed off because of like the mine cave-in, I think is kind of the gist there.
It took us a long time to figure that out.
It was not that easy to figure out what they were even doing there, because obviously the old guys know what they were doing, but the young dudes are like, I don't know, I see them with a spool of wire and that's really all I see of them and their hard days of work. But yeah, they're kind of obnoxious as characters go. Again, they start talking about sex. I feel like there was one, I can't remember why I wrote the quote. I don't remember when they're talking about this. I think one friend was trying to hook another friend up with a girl. And he's like, oh, is she cute? Yeah, no, she looks like Quasimodo's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's so cruel.
So cruel.
But again, they're
kind
just
of funny.
They're dudes who talk about sex. That's really all there is about them.
That is their whole personality.
Yeah, so really you just, you stray from that. I mean, like, there's really not much more to say about that opening scene. You find out they have a job there. There's a mine that's been caved in. We kind of already knew that already. But as we're moving away from this, we get a creepy man on the hill. What will he do? There's just this old man that's introduced to us who looks like he's been, like, lost in a facility that's taking care of him. He doesn't know where to go. Yeah. He looks like he wandered onto set.
We said that multiple times.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I'm excited when I see an old man in these movies.
Right.
Because it's so stupid, so tropey. And so I actually typed with like a million exclamation marks. Yeah, old man!
Yeah, old man. He's up on the hill just staring at everything and looking generally displeased with whatever's happening, but still looking so lost.
Yes.
The whole time, I'm like, someone help this old man. Get him back to wherever he belongs.
And this man shows up so many times throughout the movie. And we literally talked about it. We're like, oh, there he is again. He escaped from the mental facility.
Like, yeah, he's back again. Really, every time we see him, it's like, oh, he wandered onto set again because he looks so lost.
He really does.
And you don't find out his purpose until so deep into the movie.
Yeah,
he's given a purpose. Every other scene, he's just
sure.
Yeah, exactly. So next up, we go to there's a woman who is driving up. It's all shot in like some kind of mountainy, like snowy area, right? I think we discovered it was just like a lot of it was filmed in Utah and like snowy parts and like Colorado, I think maybe.
Up in Park City.
Yeah, Park City. And so we get a scene where this woman is driving up to this cabin. Her car like skids out on the side of the road.
Yep.
Oh, it's a deer.
Yeah, she swerves.
She like swerves and doesn't hit she hits the deer.
I don't think she hit the deer.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Clearly, it's not important because she doesn't think much about the deer. So her car swerves off to the side of the road. She's like, well, all right. And she just starts walking to her destination.
I mean, she barely tries.
Yeah.
Barely tries. I think it even implied that her car died completely just from going into this ditch.
Yeah, but
I don't know what cars were like in 1981.
No, exactly. You know, they were built out of like straws and paper and stuff. So I get it, you know, back in the day. Which didn't have that newfangled technology like we do today.
Yeah. The chassis, is that a word?
Chassis? Chassis. I love it. This baby's got a great chassis on it.
They've improved, is what
the chassis have improved tenfold from the 80s. Yes, very much.
Okay.
And on the subject of technology, I literally wrote, technology fears this woman because she gets up to a cabin that we don't really know if it belongs to her or anything. She's like on the phone talking to someone about how she made it to a cabin. So she's up at the cabin trying to get it like turn all the lights on and stuff, and the refrigerator is making like this like grinding noise. Yeah. She literally just hits it and says, shut up. And it does.
It does.
She tells the fridge, shut up. It do. The technology fears this woman.
She's the Fonz of fridges.
And then what happens to her?
So she's like wandering around. She gets naked, doesn't she? I'm
Maybe?
sure. I don't remember.
She gets all of her like her gear off and stuff. She like settles into the house.
I had so much issue with this because she crashes on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. You're meant to think that she was like in the middle of nowhere, and then she's at her destination because it definitely seemed like she wanted to be at this cabin.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, she sets everything down. She starts to go to sleep, but then she hears a noise from the basement, or she goes down to light the furnace.
That's what it was. And that's where we see the first of many what we started calling the barbarian shot.
Yes.
Which is basically just a shot from the bottom of a staircase in a basement up to the top door.
I mean, you can even look at the poster from Barbarian, and it's
which I'm sure has been used several times before that, but like the most recent example of it that I can use right now, and I feel like that a lot of people are aware of right now is Barbarian. Because he used it very well. And you know what? I actually really like that shot.
I loved it.
They used it a couple times in this movie in like different kind of angles too, from different perspectives. Is there something about it? Maybe that's just because I personally have always been and will always be afraid of basements.
Same. Terrified of them.
I will never like comfortably go into a basement and think, I'm completely safe down here.
As a almost 29-year-old man, I cannot go into my basement without being hate it. And Isaac decided to store a mannequin in my basement currently. So I walked down there the other day, and it scared me.
He's been warned. I'm sorry. You gotta understand. There's a man down there, and he's a little bit scary. But I can tell you, every single time I walk up out of a basement these days, I'm literally like running up, like something's gonna grab me at my heels.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's why the barbarian shot looks so good to me. But yeah, she goes down to the basement to light like the pilot light on the heater. Mm-hmm. Also, at this point, there's not been a lot of like horror in this movie.
Nope.
It's a lot of like, and that's kind of like a theme throughout the entire thing. We're like, this is a pretty normal movie about people living a life.
Yep.
And then a monster happens to do something every so often,
yes.
right? It does not feel so much like a horror movie, at least not yet, really, at all, right?
Yeah,
and is it at this point that she lights the pilot light? I think she maybe hears a sound. She's like, oh, it's nothing. And then she walks back upstairs.
That's exactly what happened.
And then it switches to the creature cam, where basically we go from like, a steady camera to like one that's like crawling around on the ground, which actually really, I love that kind of stupid stuff.
I love it too.
It's very cheesy. I wish it had made some noise though, because at least in that first sequence, there was no sound to it.
Yeah,
it wasn't
was
like
quiet.
making any scurrying or any growling noises. It was just like the camera was now on the floor and it was moving like a creature would.
I think either two ways that they did this.
Mm-hmm.
One, they had a guy lay on the ground. Okay, 3 ways.
3 ways.
They had a man lying on the ground with a camera.
Mm-hmm.
2, they had the actual creature come to life and they put a GoPro on it.
Oh yeah.
Or 3, maybe they like put it on a broom. And like
they're just scooting it around set.
Like I know they have technology for this, but it kind of felt like that way. I love this kind of shot where there's like it's like on the ground and moving and like scurrying back and forth and stuff like that. But there's something so shaky about this one that just felt so, I don't know, nauseating to me.
Yeah, a little bit. It takes a bit to do it right. But I am curious about how they do shots like that, because I know there's a lot talking about like Sam Raimi and his work in Evil Dead and like his very much like jerry-rigged together like ways to make the camera move the way it did. Like it's so interesting to me, and I love those kinds of things. So let's pretend it was the broom method, because that seems really fun.
I want to pretend that they put it on the actual creature.
On the actual creature?
It was a GoPro.
It came to life like magic?
It was never not alive.
Speaking of magic, the cinematography is actually working some magic for the movie. There's some interesting camera work.
Yes,
there are actually some great like ways of using it, and like good ways to build tension sometimes.
Yeah.
Whenever it came up, I was actually pretty surprised by that. And then she dies.
Oh yeah.
I literally cannot tell you how. I feel like we might just hear a scream, and it's like an off-camera kind of thing.
Still to the end of the movie, you have no idea this woman died.
Yeah.
Because she gets to the top of the stairs, and then something grabs her and drags her back down the stairs. And then you never see her again.
Yeah, exactly. You just hear a scream, and you're left to assume that. I'm also left to assume, like, why is the creature just in some random cabin?
Yep.
Because we so far found out all about, like, the miners and the cave and all that stuff. I don't know shit about this monster or where it showed up. It's not like some kind of, like, asteroid fell to Earth and that caused a cave-in, or, like, they found creatures in it. There was very little to even give me any clue that there was a creature at all. It's just living in this house right now.
And it's not that, like, they... At least to me, it didn't seem like they let the creature out, because the mine shaft that they opened was 2 boards that they just pried off.
Yeah.
Like, there was plenty of space above and below, and if this creature is as small as the movie's making it seem...
Yeah, because it's low to the ground. Clearly, it's going to be like kind of a tiny one.
Yeah, it's just a little puppy.
Speaking of puppy, we meet a great dog actor. The dog is known by the name of Tiger in the movie. Yeah. But I literally wrote, great, now I've got a dog to worry about. And thus far, I care more about the dog than any of these characters. Specifically, the 2 girls that bring the dog into the story at all.
Yes.
Because they're also just kind of annoying. All they do is talk about sex, too. They talk about Sex Maniac, and they talk about how the one dude one of them is sleeping with has names for all of his body parts.
Oh, yeah.
And then he even says he calls his, like, zone down there, he calls it Henry, I think is what she says. I'm like, this is all teenagers ever talk about in horror movies is sex.
So bad.
There's more to life.
So we find out that these 2 girls are one of them is the sister of one of the 2 guys.
It's never really even established. I know one of them is dating the other, and both of the others in each group are like the friend, right?
Yes.
So you've got the couple and their 2 friends.
Yes. And they're the ones in the mine right now.
Yeah, exactly. Also, speaking of the mines, nobody knows how to make a fake cave.
Nope.
They all look bad. I don't know why.
Terrible.
Maybe specifically in these older, like poorly made movies. Like, they just cannot figure out how to make a believable cave look good, you know?
Just go to a real cave,
Just
dude.
find someplace.
How
I
hard
don't
is
care.
it?
Do you have to
Make
rent
one.
out location for caves? Maybe you do. I don't know
Someone
anything about
rented the
making
freaking
movies.
Eiffel Tower. Why can't you go rent like a cave?
Yeah,
somewhere?
go rent the cave they did Cocaine Bear in. I'm sure it's open now.
Yeah. Wait, this is 4
This
years.
is way back then. Maybe they could have, you know. Maybe they could have filmed it in the cave where Cocaine Bear ends up taking place.
But they're in Utah, and there's Mount Timpanogos. That's a
There's
big
lots
cave.
of caves.
Like, it's the Rocky Mountains. There's caves everywhere.
Yeah. So then we come back to the boys and then the mines again, and they come across a passageway where at first we just see a bunch of lights on their faces, like kind of like twinkling lights, and they're like, wow, you gotta look at this. I'm like, oh, what is this? It's gotta be something cool. I thought it was maybe some alien rock or something. It's just a bunch of water. It's just a nice natural spring in there.
Yeah.
I thought it was something cooler than that.
Unnatural spring.
Unnatural. And then I was like, okay, so are the Boogens water creatures? Because I still don't know anything.
I wrote cool pond.
Cool pond. The Boogens are like, maybe they live in the water now, because one of them sees like a little like bloop in the water, and like, oh, there's something in there. I wonder what that is. So now I'm thinking, okay, so now they're creatures of the liquid, of the water.
Was that what? I mean, spoilers for later in the movie, I guess. But was that the girl that got kidnapped?
Maybe we didn't see enough.
We didn't see enough of it, but like maybe.
Yeah, it was literally just a shot of like a little splash in water. That was all we saw. And again, I'm still confused about the Boogens and their origin / their timeline. How did they end up here? Like, I don't understand. And then they find a pile of bones.
Yeah.
Like, what a pile of bones, too. And that's not concerning to them.
No, they're like, oh, look at... Like, one of them grabs a skull, and it's just, like, cool with it.
They're like, oh, yeah, I'm sure this is, like, just belonged to the miners that got trapped down here. Like, no big deal. But they're in a literal pile, which should be a problem, right? Because I get it if it's a couple bones scattered throughout. Like, that makes sense for it to be, like, you know, the miners who died down here. But they are piled up. Yeah. Like a creature would put them in its den to kill them, right? Like, it's fine. It's super cool. So yeah, then we find out all of them, like the two couples, are going up to the same cabin that girl had died in, and so we're like, okay, so it's kind of like an Airbnb situation, right? And I guess the Boogens are renting out this B&B, this air breakfast in Boogens.
I said air beer and Boogens.
Air beer and Boogens. There are often shots of these teenagers with beer cans in their hands, which they wave about like they weigh nothing. Clearly, there's nothing in them.
Why does that always happen?
We never see them drink it.
I want to see one horror movie, just one, where people actually have liquid in a container.
I've taken an acting class or two, and that's a big thing they teach you, is when you have something, even if it's empty, you have to act like there's liquid in it. Otherwise, your suspension of disbelief is gone.
And it's all you pay attention to. It ruins it.
Really, though. Because, like, it was very noticeable to me. But yeah, so now they're up in the same house. So I guess the girl from the beginning was going up to get the cabin ready for them to be renting out, was kind of how that was supposed to use. And then I wrote, second use of Sex Maniac. Are people saying this for real? Because they used it again.
And then one of the guys literally just says, "You dare question the ability of Hormone Man?"
Oh, no. That's so much later, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
But I wrote it right here.
Maybe it was. I don't know. No, it's a little bit further than me, because they get to the girl. Oh, I think it's the girls who get to the house first.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd written something about, like, what really scares me is lighting a pilot light manually. Honestly, though, because I feel like, again, down to basement horror, you know, like, that thing's going to explode. I would never want to do that. Because you have to get up underneath it and light that thing. I also wrote, this movie is just fine so far. It's pretty decent with creating the tension, but so far it's just people doing things, right?
And being horny. Like, I actually wrote that this is the most horny dialogue I've ever read.
The next thing I wrote was, can these men do anything other than talk about sex?
Yes. And it's really like one guy egging on the other guy, and then like this guy being super horny. I guess that's Hormone Man.
At this point, one of us said, "Are these people out of their mind?"
Are they out of their mind?
And then I mentioned the quote, "You dare question the virility of Hormone Man?" The virility of Hormone Man.
I wrote ability, but virility is better.
Because they're basically, so what happens is, his girl's coming to town, he wants to go, like, spend the weekend with her, and his boss, one of the two older guys, is like, "Hey, we need you to go to Colorado or something to do this job."
Yeah, what the heck?
And he's like, "No, I really need the night. My girl's in town," and his friend is giving him shit, because he's like, "You can't last all night, let's be honest with you." And then he says, "You dare question the virility of Hormone Man."
Well, then apparently the old man showed up again, because I wrote, "Old man looking so sad."
I wrote him again. Oh, right, there's an old man. Because it's been so long and he hasn't been used at all. I thought we get any kind of exposition through him. Nothing. I have no idea who this guy is. He wandered on a set again.
So throughout this whole thing, this dog, I need to talk about him. I love this dog so much. He's just a cute little puppy who is so smart.
Yeah,
He's so smart.
This dog could sense a Boogen from a mile away. Like,
Yeah.
there's a bit where, like, the couple is, like, I guess kind of having sex and stuff, and so the friend Mark, he walks away, and he's in the kitchen with the dog, with Tiger, and Tiger's over at the door to the basement kind of pawing away at it. I'm like, this dog's smarter than all of you. Really, it is.
He knows.
And Mark has a whole conversation with the dog that actually started kind of... He was talking to him like he was a person.
It was incredible. It's like how I talk to my dogs.
Yeah, he's like, listen, you need to get your act together, okay? I'm going to put you outside. Like, it was just a funny conversation. And just, like, it brought me so much joy, the way he was talking to this dog like he was a person.
But then everyone else is kind of mean to the dog.
Yeah.
For no reason. They're like, we're going to kill you. I built an electric chair for this dog.
Yeah.
What does that
That was the
mean?
same guy, too. He was talking about, like the dog and stuff. He's like, oh, yeah, for the dog's birthday last year, I built a dog electric chair. Like, what?
All these people deserve to die.
Why do you guys hate this dog? Like, I thought, like, usually what makes a person likable more is that they're kind of animals, right?
Yes.
Every one of them is so mean to this dog and talk about how they don't want him around. Every time he runs away, they're like, let him do it. It's fine. He'll come back. Like, they don't care much about, like,
so
the danger
sad.
of their dog running out in the snow, right?
The one thing I will say, though, which is probably why I didn't hate these characters, is they never actually physically harm the dog.
Yeah.
It's all just, like, verbal abuse.
It's all, like, threats, and, like, it's to a point where I'm like, I can't tell how serious they are about it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, when the dog runs away and stuff, I'm like, oh, you're gonna get it. You're gonna be sorry. I'm like, are you actually gonna do anything? I'm not sure if you're actually gonna hurt this dog.
Yeah,
I can't tell.
I don't
But
know.
I care about him more than you guys, so
But it
don't
still
hurt
made me mad.
Don't hurt the dog, right?
Yeah.
But both of these pairs of friends have, like, one insufferable friend and the one that's kind of sweet. And the insufferable ones are the ones that are dating, and the ones that are sweet are the ones that kind of end up getting a little sweet on each other. I literally wrote, I think these people are doing everything in their power to make it so this dog dies on accident. Just because it feels that way.
So I just looked through my notes. Apparently a lot was happening with the dog at this moment because I have 7 notes in a row.
I literally wrote, Derek loves this dog so much. Where was this dog trained? Barkford?
I wrote that too! This dog was trained in Barkford.
Yep. Really great work on the dog, though. He was doing some tricks.
Yeah, dude.
He was, like, opening doors and, like, hopping up onto things and knocking things. I don't know. It was kind of shocking.
Yeah.
I was taken out of the rest of the movie just to be impressed by the dog actor.
No, of course. So anyway, is this where they head to the bar? Is that what happens next?
So then they go to the bar for the night. They actually meet the 2 old men there, and the girl who's dating the other guy kind of like leaves the rest of the group to keep kicking their ass in pool.
Yeah.
She keeps taking all their money.
Yeah, she does.
She's doing great, and that's kind of her whole bit. The 2 other friends are kind of having a bit of a date while they're at the bar, and then the one other guy that's a part of the couple is like, well, I gotta work in like 3 hours, so I'm gonna take the truck, go back home, right?
Yep.
He goes home and he falls asleep in like his whole outfit.
Yeah.
He does not get undressed, which is just so funny to me because I'm like, if this was a woman in this scene, they would have absolutely made the scene 5 minutes longer to undress her.
And it would have like had some weird music.
Yeah.
You would have panned up through the legs onto the butt.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, this guy goes completely in his whole outfit to bed.
Never could see a man strip. That's what I wrote.
Really though. And so the 2 sweeter halves of these friend groups, they start like having a cute conversation. It's kind of working for me. They're actually kind of sweet to each
They're
other.
cute. I
like
liked
their
it.
relationship a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, again, I'm in a different movie right now. I'm not really
Yes.
feeling much tension, or a monster is like at risk of hurting you guys, right?
So what happened during this, though, before the guy gets home, is they basically say to the dog, "Don't rip up anything while we're gone, or you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Don't eat any trash."
Don't do
and
it.
then immediately after they leave, the dog goes and rips up underwear. Like, but it seemed like so on purpose. He's like, "I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna get on this bed and rip things up." But then he hears something in the basement. The dog does, and then the door like opens. And he goes downstairs, and you don't see the dog again.
You're like, oh no, Tiger
was
God,
freaking
Tiger's
out.
dead.
I was losing my
And
mind.
even when the guy gets home to go to bed, he doesn't see Tiger anywhere. He
Yeah.
sees all the stuff is thrashed up. He's like, oh, you're gonna get it, but he can't find the dog.
Yeah, he can't find
so
it.
again, we're like, oh great, the dog's dead. That's terrible. I
Yeah.
hate this. He wakes up and has, you know, the classic beer for breakfast, which is so stupid.
So it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
He's about to go to work at 3 a.m.
Mind you, we
And he
also
has a beer.
we took note of how far we were in this movie.
Yep.
We were about 2/3 of the way through this movie.
51 minutes.
We have not seen any monsters,
Nope.
any monstery kills,
Nothing.
nothing.
Just a woman dragged down the stairs in a dog.
That's it. So then we finally get something where he's going out into the garage to take the truck out to work, and he gets a tentacle, like a very octopus-looking tentacle wrapped around his ankle, and he's being dragged out, or like his arm or something like that. He gets dragged underneath the truck.
Yep.
And it's kind of hard to tell. He pulls his arm out, and it's like, he looks like he's in pain. I can't tell if he's covered in blood or goop from the creature.
I think it was supposed to be blood.
I feel like it was probably supposed to be blood,
but he didn't
right?
have any cuts or anything. It was just like blood on his
He was
hand.
just covered in a bunch of blood. Yeah, exactly. And then he dies. We get actually like the first like real kill of the thing where he gets thrown pretty hard into like a wardrobe behind him and it smashes, and then we just get like one quick tentacle slash across him, and there's this big gash that forms on his neck and just like bleeding profusely.
It was a shocking amount of blood, but I think only shocking because we hadn't seen
Really
it.
though, it was just out of nowhere. So I was like, thank you for finally giving me what I kind of came here for. You know,
again,
it's a horror movie.
But again,
51 minutes deep.
All we've seen is the tentacles.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything but tentacles.
No, we've heard a couple sounds a bit, but like honestly, like nothing. The Boogen doesn't have much of a sound much of a sound to it yet. It does have this sound effect though. Every time like a musical scoring, so
the
boom, boom. Every time it's used.
Overused. You mean?
Yeah,
like
no,
all the time.
So the two that are sweet are now going to the they're going back to the cabin, and they're gonna take the girl part of the couple with them. And she's like, nah, I'm gonna stay here with these two old men.
I'm gonna play some pool.
Keep beating them in pool. I'm like, I'm a little uncomfortable that they decided to leave their friend with these two guys, but they seem trustworthy enough.
Yeah,
this is the first use of old men in a movie where I'm not creeped out by them.
Yeah, they're fine.
But yeah, so the two sweet friends go home and they do the do, and it was like weirdly sensual.
Yes.
I was like, this is a bit much right now. I'm a little taken out of it.
It was weird.
And then as the two of them are lying in front of the fireplace, like kind of having their like just like really sensual love scene with each other, Tiger the dog runs across them.
Yep.
Even later on, in order to tell the girl who Tiger belongs to that they found him, he was like, "Oh yeah, we almost had a menage a trois with Tiger last night." I'm like, out of context, that sounds terrible. You can't say that to this dog's owner. What the hell?
No. So then it's the morning.
Yeah, this is the slowest slow burn movie in like a bad way.
You can't even call it a slow burn. It's like a slow simmer.
Yes, honestly though.
So, but now they show up at the mining site. What's his face who died under the truck isn't there, obviously.
He's missing. It's weird.
But they show up and there's 3 gravestones outside the mine, and it's boarded up and just says death.
Yeah, like 3 crosses and then like graffiti that says death. It's like, okay.
And then we see the old man again.
Yeah, the old man's here and he steals some dynamite. So like, okay, now he's actually doing something. And it was like an hour deep into this hour and a half movie, he's finally doing something.
At this point, I guessed that he was the survivor of like he survived the mine shaft thing, which does get confirmed like almost immediately.
Later though, we still don't know that. They haven't told us who this guy is. Right. He's done nothing because we had to figure that out ourselves.
Yeah.
And so they're back in the mines. Now they're realizing that the pile of bones is a reason to be concerned. It's so stupid. And then the old man is in the mines now with them, finally gives them some exposition about, I survived the mines, you guys opened up the mines, you let the creature out. Yeah. Which is strange, though, because we never saw a scene where the creature was making its way out of the cave.
There's nothing.
There's nothing for us to believe that to believe anything other than the creature started in the house. Yeah. I didn't know it came from the mine. How was I supposed to know that?
I had no idea.
He says apparently the mine shafts connect to all the houses in the neighboring town.
Who designed this neighborhood?
Nuts. Which later on we do find in the basement of the house there is one huge hole in the basement wall that literally just goes into like a cave hallway. And like just right there.
Who would do that?
It's not even well hidden.
Why would you do that?
Why would you want that?
It makes no sense.
Basements are scary enough. Have we not established that already?
I'm so mad.
Derek says, this movie is all words. That's really what he said at this point.
Well, because at this point, we're at an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour and 15 minutes of what? An hour and 30 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. We did not have much movie left and nothing has happened yet. One of the sweet girl, she heard from the old men at the bar about the story about the miners. They didn't tell us anything then. They were just like, it's an interesting story. You should go learn more about it. Like, or you as a character should tell me more. You're right here. Because the girl goes to like the local newspaper to see the old headlines from the time, and she finds out about like miners being attacked in the day by something strange. I'm like, this is great. This should have happened like 30 minutes ago.
At least 30
This should not be happening now. We should not be getting this part of the story this late in the game.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, though.
So they're in the mine, and then they're standing around, and all of a sudden, the guy who got pulled into the truck appears in the pool of water.
Yep, because one of the old men sees him. He's like, oh, is there something in the water? He starts wading around in it. Then here's the body of the dude that he had hired, right? Just like completely dead. Half of his face is kind of like messed up and gross looking. Mm-hmm. Prosthetic was not incredibly impressive. No, it looks kind of messy and just like, oh yeah, they're going to cut away from this shot pretty quick because it doesn't look that great.
Which is why I made the assumption that maybe that girl at the beginning was dragged into the water, and that's what we saw.
Exactly, right. But again, we don't see any creature in the water. I think maybe while the old man who we didn't know anything about and the two old men who work in the mines are all having a conversation, I think they get attacked by a Boogen, right?
The guy who wades into the water gets attacked and killed.
Pulled into it. There's actually a pretty fun shot of him getting like dragged backwards through the water. I actually kind of like the way that looked. Then the old man falls and so limply gets pulled into the water. It was so funny to me. He just gave up. He's had a good life. No. He's done. He's given into the Boogens.
You could kind of tell that it was just like a body, like a dummy, right? That was just getting pulled in.
Yeah.
But before he does that, he says it's the Boogens. So you finally hear the word.
The first time we use it. Because the entire time I was like, there has to be some explanation. No. Maybe it's some old mining term. I have no idea what this word means, right? And he finally says it once. Once, when he hears the creature coming. By the way, we hear its roar. It has a roar. It hasn't had it this whole time. And it was quite a sound.
Did it?
It sounded, yeah.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? It sounded like 10 tigers screaming at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of terrible, kind of spooky, I guess.
Kind of.
We've also skipped over the scene where you almost got what you were expecting with the shower scene, right?
Oh, yeah!
Because I literally wrote, I'm like, men don't undress, but women always do, because of course she hops into the shower. And I think Derek said this. Derek was funny during this one. He says, he smells the nudity. The Boogens know. But she doesn't end up dying in the shower. She gets out of it, actually, because she hears the dog, because the dog yelps, and the dog does get got by a Boogens, which is terrible.
He gets pulled down, which I actually liked the way they did this, even if it was a dog death. Mm-hmm. It didn't need to be. But there's like a floor grate that he's been sniffing at the whole time. Mm-hmm. He starts sniffing at it again, and then the Boogens like pulls it down and breaks it open.
Yeah, it slowly pries apart the grate, which was actually kind of a neat moment there.
Positive it was the most expensive shot in the movie.
Probably, yep. But then they just they rip the dog down there, I guess. You don't see a dog death, but you do hear a very sad yelp, which, it's tough.
I hated it.
It's really hard that most horror movies feel the need to kill the dog, because it's so sad.
It is.
I'd rather just not know. Like, if you want to, like, do how we did it earlier, right? Like, the dog goes away, I don't want to hear anything. That's too much for me. Dog death?
Or like how they did it in, spoilers for Megan, how they did it in Megan, where the dog just kind of disappears.
Yeah, exactly, right. But this scene was the biggest tease of the movie. Because again, we're like an hour 15 in this hour 30 movie. We have to see the creature at this point, right?
Absolutely.
And this girl is being pursued by it now, right? It lashes onto her arm and tries to pull her down into the grate. She escapes. Then it starts to chase her through the house. Then she sticks herself in a closet door and it's banging on the closet door. Mm-hmm. Then it breaks the closet door down. You're like, here it is. No, still they do everything in their power to not show this creature besides like a tentacle.
We were so ready. At this point, we were like leaning forward, like, please show it to us. Please show it to us. Mm-hmm. And it's not like in other movies with monster delay, right? We've talked a lot about monster delay on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And this movie did it so wrong.
So poorly, right? It's like you need to make it an interesting thing for us, not continue to not give us a creature at all.
It wasn't monster delay. It was like monster non-existence.
Yes, exactly, right? I was not a fan of that. She dies, and it looks pretty bad. It looks like they just splattered a bunch of like red paint on her, dumb. Right?
Yeah.
The sweet couple basically make it back to the house now, and they find the parts of the blood on the ground and stuff. Then we got like 6 minutes left in this movie. You finally get to see the creature,
but they pull up with a policeman.
Yeah. A policeman is pursuing them. I think they must have called them on the way or something like
But,
that.
like-
Because I did write that earlier. They're not stupid. They when they see there's an actual threat, they're actually like, oh, we should do something about this.
Yes.
We need to get out of these mines, go protect the kids, right? Like we need to get these young guys out of here. So so they bring a police officer with them to the house, and you finally see it, and it's kind of adorable. It's just this little mole tentacle turtle thing.
It kind of looked like something that would have been on the Muppet Show, honestly.
Honestly,
just like a
kinda...
little weird painted, but I really would have expected to see it on that.
So they go down into the basement and happen upon the dead body of the girl, and that's when they get scared by the Boogens that's there. It has a scary roar. It kind of just flails about. It doesn't look very agile as a creature. It doesn't move at all. And then the cop comes down the stairs and just shoots it.
It was great.
And it's it's dead. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But then it comes back. Yeah. And then it's alive.
So 1 hour 20 of this 1 hour and 35-minute movie, we see the Boogens.
Yes.
Finally.
So deep.
And then it dies.
And then it dies so fast. But then it comes back to life. It actually pretty brutally gets the cop and chomps its big mouth on its face.
I liked that.
And he was kind of fine. They were able to get it off because they stab it with a pitchfork. Again, it's dead.
Yeah.
No problems.
No problem.
And then the house catches fire because, again, the pilot light on the heater downstairs ends up hitting a gas leak, and the whole place lights on fire. They escape through the hole in the wall that leads to the rest of the town's cave system for some reason.
Who designed it?
Right?
I need to know. It's so stupid.
And it was only up until this point that I was like, there is only one of these creatures. Why is it called the Boogens, plural,
right.
you know? And then while they're running down the hall, there was actually kind of a neat shot of them running down the hallway. It was cool. The man was close to the camera, the girl was trailing behind him, and the camera was moving at the same speed as them running along it. It looked neat. It was the coolest way
really cool.
to show running down a mine shaft. I thought that was actually really neat. Again, interesting camera work. Pretty well done.
Yeah, pretty cool.
The house was demolished in seconds.
Literal seconds.
The house catches fire, and then it falls apart like it was made out of sticks. It was so terrible.
It looked like a popsicle stick.
It looked like it was like a miniature set that they had set on fire. It was so strange. But then we get a second Boogens. We get a second creature that attacks them in the mines. Again, so easily subdued. I don't even remember what they do to stop this thing, but it takes nothing at all to stop this thing.
They get away pretty quick. I think they just run, don't they?
I don't think they just run away, yeah.
They made it seem like it was chasing after them really quickly, but then
the camera moves,
the slowest moving thing.
The camera moves faster than the actual monster does, which is so
100%.
funny to me. They run into the old man that survived, and he's like, "Take this dynamite, get out of here!" They're running, and then they end up finding the entrance to this cave. Derek's wife Emily mentioned her quote here is, "I don't feel like this monster is any more of a threat than a wolf. It doesn't do anything more than an average predator in the real world does, right? It just looks kind of spooky, right? But also kind of cute. I thought that was such a funny quote.
I want to give a hug. It's like a mutated turtle.
Yeah, so then they're running to this tension's high. They're running to the end of this hallway, and they make it out. They throw dynamite into there. The whole thing explodes. Yay. And I just wrote, what an explosive ending to an albeit implosive movie.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
It was, so they successfully blow up the second Boogen of two, I guess. Not that big of a threat, very easily subdued. And then they kind of just walk away, and it shows the fire of the house again. And
couple things.
Yeah.
Couple things. This is for the director of the movie and the writers. When you listen to this, just to answer, give me a call.
Yeah.
First off, if there's mine shafts connected everywhere, why didn't the Boogens escape sooner?
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth did you connect all the mine shafts to this house? And then also, they implied that there was quite a long drive to get to this mine from the town.
Yeah.
And yet they ran there in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It was not a very long run for them.
I understand that continuity doesn't always exist in movies, but this was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then Isaac did the thing that Isaac always does. And this is not sponsored, but he always notices when a man is wearing Levi's.
It is so obvious, though, because the Levi's trademarked the red tab on the pocket of the jean, and they've got this little arc shape in the middle of it they call the arcuate. And so it's just, I just spot it from a mile away. I always know.
He's like, oh, Levi's.
Just big fan of Levi's myself.
Levi's,
if you're looking to sponsor us, please get on our horn,
All right, well... That's it. That's the movie.
That's the movie. We watched the trailer, and honestly, my recommendation right now is watch the trailer, which is, there's a pretty long
It's
trailer
like a
that exists on
4-minute
YouTube.
trailer.
Yeah, it is more interesting than the movie.
And
just
it shows
the pacing of it works better than the actual movie does.
I would argue that the trailer is the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Honestly, though, it shows the most interesting parts of it and the creature.
It shows the creature, it shows the house exploding, it shows them running, it shows them throwing dynamite. Like, it shows all of these things.
It is a much more interesting movie.
Treat it like a short film, watch the Boogens trailer,
Honestly,
and be like, oh, cool, I've seen the Boogens now.
Really, though, watch the trailer, listen to this, you will have seen the whole movie. You are fine. We want to talk about our expectation results?
Yeah,
how
so
they ended up here?
My first expectation was definitely some boogers. There were no burgers. Burgers.
No burgers.
There's no boogers. I said that it was going to be some sort of a Thing clone. Definitely not.
No,
there was absolutely no explanation to any of it. I don't need an explanation, really.
Yeah,
but this movie
kind of like one. I want to know where they came from.
I know.
Are they alien?
I want to know more.
Have they been here forever?
Yeah.
Did they like mine into something deep and accidentally unleash this thing?
I was hoping that it was them getting turned into it.
Yeah, that would have been cool
so
too.
cool.
I would love to see something like that, but they just didn't go
But
there.
this movie basically had no monster.
Had that
being
potential.
honest.
Honestly, though, we didn't see it till the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, and then
In the worst way.
My next one was cool gremlin-esque monsters. Nope. Just some weird turtle.
Yep, little tentacle turtle. It was adorable though. It was so cute.
I love
Go look
it.
up a picture of it because it's so cute.
And then campy dialogue. Honestly, no. The dialogue was actually believable for the most part. I liked it.
Which is good because I think I would have hated this movie a lot more. Let's not say I hated this movie. I would have disliked watching this movie a lot more. I would have regretted my decision a bit more if that dialogue was so terrible. But it was fine.
It was fine.
They were doing well. Not like any Oscar-worthy performances, but like they were doing it fit and it worked fine.
It was good.
It didn't pull me out of it at all.
It makes sense that the main writer has gone on to do bigger things.
Yes, exactly. Because the writing was certainly not the weakest part of this movie. It just felt like there could have been more done with it.
Absolutely.
Different
and then
places to go with the writing, not necessarily the writing was the problem itself. You know?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then some unnecessary shower nudity. The shower scene didn't even have any nudity.
No.
And then there was a shower scene, but there was just weird nudity at different points. Like there was a scene where she was standing there with her butt out, and one of the guys looked at it.
Of it. Her
and
towel
then there was a boob during one of the sex scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here for the nudity. I talk about it a lot, apparently, but it's just something to expect from these movies. All right, what about you?
So for me, I was expecting to love the creature, right? Like in a motherly way. And the creature was kind of adorable, but we saw it for like 20 seconds total of screen time. So it's kind of hard to love what you can't see and what you just want the entire movie and you don't get until like the very, very end.
So sad.
I mean, I think the creatures definitely looked like boogers.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, it was just a turtle-y looking head with like this shell that kind of looked like mangled and boogery. Mm-hmm. But no boogers.
No boogers.
This was literally just a movie about people living their normal lives and a monster happened to be there.
Yeah.
So as far as like a plot that bored me to tears, kind of, you know? It's just like, it was a fine movie, but like wasn't what I went in wanting, I really wanted more of that creature. And again, we didn't see that creature for the last, like, barely any of the movie. But not in a cool way like they do it. Like, I think the best movie that has ever done, like, monster delay like that is Alien, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they do such a good job of building the tension of showing you just, like, small bits of it. You do not see that, like, in its whole xenomorph glory till, like, the very, very end.
Oh, yeah.
But it is used so much better in that one. Yeah. And this one did not do that. The payoff was minimal, if I can even call it payoff at all.
And something like that, like, jumps into it pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? This one just took its sweet time.
And like, they teased it in all the wrong ways. I'm like, at this point, just show me. There's nothing else you can hide from me. There's nothing else this creature has to do. Because I didn't feel like there was a lot of mystery in comparison to, like, the xenomorph, right? Because you just didn't have any clue what was happening. You were so lost in such a fun way. It makes you as lost as the characters in the movie, right? Which is kind of fun, right? Because usually as an audience member, I feel like you know more than the characters do all the time.
Yeah.
So to be in the same place as them puts you in that level of fear so well that I love so much. This movie did not do that. I was just like, please just show this to me so I can like this movie.
Yeah.
The actors weren't interesting, but weren't uninteresting. They were just doing their part.
They were just people who were horny.
Right in the middle, decent acting, you know? Some surprises I had. One of the best dog actors I've ever seen in an older movie. Props to 100%. Tiger. Which, it was like this like white poodle looking dog. That's a terrible name for that dog. Tiger? What the hell?
Yeah, it didn't look like it at all.
I was impressed by the camera work throughout. It was very interesting to me. I actually was really impressed by it. And then they did pretty well at building tension with their camera work when they did actually give us any tension. Because again, it was kind of like few and far between there. So like, what's your verdict here on this one?
Horror boring.
Horror boring. Yeah, I think I'd also put it there. I was like, it's like, it was a fine movie, just so boring.
That was a movie.
That's really where it was. That was a movie. It's like somewhere in between like horrible and boring. Because like it wasn't necessarily a horrible movie, but like just was unentertaining. And then a lot of it just like didn't go where I wanted it to go. It had a lot of potential to be better. There were things it could have done and places it could have gone that would have made it a much better, more interesting movie. And it just didn't. It didn't go there, you know? So,
all right, give me some trivia.
There was a decent amount of things to learn about this one, which is so fun.
So fun.
Only one creature was made for this film.
That makes sense.
They made one puppet for it.
That checks out.
Yeah, and honestly. I'm like, did you make it like halfway through production of this movie? Because you never used it until the very end. So, yeah, so they
waited until the last day of filming.
They only made one of those things. The Boogens it's funny the way this trivia reads like this was something I was supposed to know beforehand. It says, the Boogens isn't an actual term once used by miners to describe the fear some would experience while spending too much time in the mines. When did they ever say that?
Wait, it is or it isn't?
It isn't that. So, like, cool, I understand that it's not that. When was I ever supposed to feel like that was the case?
What?
The only use of the word we have is when the mysterious old man is like, the Boogens! And he points to them. That is it.
What is that?
So apparently, it was once, like what we're supposed to gain from this was used by miners to describe fear from spending too much time deep in the mines. It is not that. It was a word fabricated by screenwriter David O'Malley using the word boogeyman as its root. So the Boogens is like derived from boogeyman.
I mean, I kind of expected that.
It doesn't read at
But it does
all.
not read.
Does not read at all. To create the roar of the creature that I mentioned earlier, the sound supervisor Jeffrey L. Sandler asked his son Robert Sandler to come up with something scary. The monster's roar was a dog and a cat fight played backwards and slowed down.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Kind of cool, right?
That's great.
To test its effectiveness, speakers were set up at the end of 4 long hallways at Glen Sound in Burbank, California, with the lights out. Jeffrey and Robert played the effect, and they were both too scared to walk down the hall alone to turn the lights back on. Oh, I scared myself with my monster sound. That's hilarious. But I guess it worked. The roar was fine. It seemed like a little much, but I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
The climax was filmed in an actual mine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just the climax?
Which is worth mentioning because the mine interiors were built in a disused grocery store.
What?
So again, yeah, they don't know how to create fake mines. They did use a real mine at one point.
What?
But a lot of the shots we see of them were in some abandoned store. And this continues on to another trivia point. They constructed a cave set in an abandoned store in Utah. But while filming, the fireball that goes from the house into the cave, the set and building caught fire. The entire building burnt down in 10 minutes.
Oh my god!
No one was hurt, but they had to refilm the scene in an actual cave. Isn't that nuts?
That's insane.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. Another thing, in his Twilight Zone magazine review, author Stephen King called The Boogens a wildly energetic monster movie. Where?
What?
Mr. King.
Mr. King.
Where the hell?
Here's the thing, though. Stephen King at this point in time was on so much drugs. He was probably not even in the movie. Like, he was just sitting there like, ha ha.
Yeah. They told him about the movie. He's like, yeah, what a movie.
Yeah, what a movie.
It was kind of one of those like, oh, you've seen this, right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah, right. Boogie, wildly energetic.
I bet you anything they went up to him and asked him that, and he's like, did I write that one?
Was that one me? You have to imagine. He's written so many at this point. We're at the point in this podcast that I think about like past episodes. I'm like, did we do that movie? I don't remember. So I can only imagine with like how many books that man has under his belt and movies and stuff. He might have felt that way.
Might have.
And then my last bit of trivia is 2 dogs were used for Tiger. There were 2 of them.
There's 2 tigers?
Yeah, 2 wonderfully trained dog actors. Twingers. That's nothing. There's no pun there.
Nope, not at all.
Nope.
So next week, we are going to be watching the great movie Alone in the Dark, 2005.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you find out which version? Okay, so we're watching the 2005 version of this.
Apparently there is a new version that came out in 2022. I can't find anything on it, though. I don't know if it's actually been released yet.
Hopefully it'll be better, because clearly this one's not great, because we're watching it on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah. I think it is at a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Oh, no.
That's going to be fun.
We're in for a treat.
I'm so excited.
Thank you all so much for choosing to listen to this podcast, by the way.
Really,
it's been a couple episodes since since we've given you thanks. You know, we keep
It's incredible.
getting a couple listens here and there. You know, we're still getting our listenership here and just kind of finding our footing. So thank you for traversing this with us as we figure out how to do this. And this is our first time either of us have tried anything like this.
And it's turned out to be a lot more successful than either of us could have expected.
Yeah, really. So thank you all. And Phil, please go follow us on the social medias. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a Twitter. We're going to be setting up an Instagram here soon as well. We'll be anywhere that you can find these kinds of things, posting as much as we can about it. Tell your friends if they enjoy anything kind of comedy related or horror things, you know, reviews of stuff, you know, like spread the good word. It would really help us.
Absolutely. And if you have any recommendations for movies, we're always taking them.
Please let us know.
We'll give you a shout out if we take one of your movies. We have some coming up that are going to be recommendations.
Yeah, fortunately, we have no shortage of movies. There are so many bad horror movies that exist, which I'm very thankful for, which will give us lots of time on this podcast, right? Because I enjoy doing it. And so hope you guys enjoy listening to it as well.
It has been such a blast, and we're so excited to see where the future takes us.
Derek.
What?
You got something under your
Don't
nose.
you dare.
Derek, you got some... It's a booking.
Oh, no.
No.
2 out of 10.
Goodbye.